Alright, after playing through Vista Quest 1, I expect to see some better things, maybe better hitboxes, because they were a little bit weird in the first game, I have to admit. Maybe a little bit more challenge and probably some just more mechanics added, right? Yeah, that was pretty much my experience with Vista Quest 2. I don't know where to start with Vista Quest 2, but let's go with the story. So in Vista Quest 2, you play as the hero from the first game once again. You are out to defeat the darkness that was trying to destroy the island in the first game, and this time around you have some upgraded mechanics along with your character. So this time you can use your yo-yo as a mid-range attack, which is a pretty cool ability to have, as you're also able to use your jump from the first game on certain enemies. Along with that, you have the ability to do wall jumps, which adds just a little bit more depth to the game, and it's something that I am glad that Suits and Sandals added. It's just there's other things that really make it not fun, and that goes into the gameplay. So let's talk about the worlds first. There's a total of 5 worlds, each with their own variety of levels, and this time around there's a lot more content than Vista Quest 1. Whereas Vista Quest 1 took me around 30 or 40 minutes to play, this game took me around 3 hours. That includes a lot of deaths, so probably around 2.5 hours. And the first time I played this, it was probably around 3.5 hours. Alright Nakuso, so it has these improvements from the first game, then what's the issue? Like, what issue did I have? Well, there's still the hitboxes, and it feels much more apparent in this game, maybe because there's now a run ability, so you have this inertia that feels really off, but these hitboxes on these enemies and also your hurtbox is pretty bad. Notably on the bramble levels is where I had probably the most trouble. There's just these brambles sticking out, and you would think that you may be able to touch them a little bit, and you can, but at times it seems like some of the spikes will hit you even though you aren't close. This, for example, is one of the times I was like, wow, okay, I guess it just feels like maybe I was doing something wrong. But as I was playing through these other levels, I had a lot of instances where I would try and jump on an enemy, and the leniency from this is like you had to be pixel perfect, or at other times you had to hit enemies in certain spots, which doesn't sound too bad if you have to hit an enemy in a certain spot to proceed. But there are times in the games, especially when I'm jumping on these bugs from Shiver Summit, and the hitboxes are crazy. You have to jump straight in the middle, you can't jump on the head or else you'll fall through. And having this in a game where the platforming doesn't feel the best is just not a great experience. There's still a lot of good stuff in the game, but just the hitboxes and the hurtboxes of your character going through these levels is just one of the biggest things that really turned me off. And coming from Vista Quest 1, I didn't know what to expect, but I surely really didn't expect this. Those things aside, if those were the only things, I could probably say, okay, well, everything else would be pretty good, right? Well, not exactly. Slowing down the game isn't necessarily bad in itself. In fact, a lot of other platformers allow you to slow down a little bit so you can kind of grasp what's happening around you, and a lot of games actually do this in order to have you anticipate what's upcoming. But this game kind of does it in a way where it feels not fun. You have this moment of hesitation, anxiety when playing through Vista Quest 2. At least that was my experience, and dying to these things off screen was just like one of the worst things I feel in a recent platformer. The lack of sound effects is also something that caused me some issues. I noticed that when I was playing through the game, you have the flowers shoot out their projectiles, causing issues, not being able to hear them. And it's a very quiet game where you don't have all these sound effects or things to really anticipate. But with Vista Quest 2, being this quiet, it felt really weird, barren. strange because all of these sound effects I think we really take for granted in a lot of these games, but they're definitely something that's pretty huge, and we don't have great visual clarity to really what's happening. You have all this really weird and wacky level design, some of these crazy freaking jumps that you have to make. Syax, what were you thinking with this jump? What were you thinking with this jump? I would think that this jump is probably one of the craziest ever. Like, it's like, okay, you ever just play through a game and like, all right, that's quite a jump, but then you just play through Vista Quest 2 and you have some of these jumps that are insane, and you have to be on the edge, and when you don't have these solid controls, it really throws everything out of whack. Not being able to see when you're falling down, sometimes you don't have a clue that you'll fall into spikes, or you'll have these other tricky wall jumps that you have to go through, and your descension when you're falling down is pretty fast, so you don't anticipate or even you don't expect anything to be that quick, and you automatically fall down, and then you play again and again and again, and you try and learn from your mistakes. Eventually you're going to F up somewhere in Vista Quest 2 is going to get you, and it keeps doing that over and over. I don't have a problem with really difficult games when they're done correctly. In fact, I play a lot of difficult games, especially platforming games, and when they're tight in controls and everything else, it's a blast to play. But with Vista Quest 2, I don't know. Through these worlds, there were some great bits. I especially liked when you introduced the disappearing blocks. It was pretty fun to have this kind of mechanic, especially when you have other stuff introduced later on. There's a lot of little mechanics and a lot of things that go into the game. I think that Syax was just trying to experiment this early on, and that's a great thing, because without a lot of these things, we wouldn't have the great games like Chimera and the recent Mandu game today at all. I don't think. You have a lot of inspiration from Super Mario Bros. 3 with the map that you'll see later on in Chimera. So there's a lot of great things about Vista Quest 2, even though there's a lot of these bad things just sprinkled into this game. One of the most important things that was introduced in Vista Quest 2 were the achievements, stats, and records. Now you have the ability to see how you're doing along with these funny achievements that you can go after, and even with all of the shortcomings of Vista Quest 2, it's really interesting to see the history of playing these earlier games. I would definitely say that if you want to play a inspired game, maybe give it a look. I mean, main character has a cool bandana, but yeah, I don't know. Vista Quest 2 was just one of those games that really made me like not happy when playing through it, and at times I really wanted to quit the game. I like some of the bosses that were introduced, some of these bosses you will see in the later games or even as references in the later Suit and Sandals game. So there is still many good things that came out of Vista Quest 2 in general. If you played Vista Quest 2, or even from a spectator perspective, does it look cool to you? Do you like the little crayon graph paper grid art style that it presents? I think it has a lot of charm, and I definitely would like to see that being kept in the future. And if you did play through this game, was it frustrating, or do I just need to get good? In the next video, we will be taking a look at Mandu Versity Forever Rain. If you enjoyed this video, you may want to stick around, as I am going to be going through every Suits and Sandals game up to the current point. And if you want to see my thoughts on the game, or really what it offered or helped in the series or the company, then feel free to subscribe to the channel. And here is a playlist if you are new here and want to see the previous video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and until next time, take care.